Welcome back to the Frank Roach Show. Before we get started, you know the routine. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, click notifications for new videos. Appreciate the support. I'm a meme guy. You like memes? There's a guy on YouTube, Tyler Zed, does a wonderful show 3 times a week, and it's all about memes. I got into memes when I was running for office in North Carolina as part of my political campaign, 2009 through 2016. They're fun. Memes are fun. Of course, memes have been targeted by the social media free speech opposers. Memes can offend. And I got a great meme today by Ali Farthat79. Not surprising. Let me read it to you. The White House. We are unable to track $6.2 billion sent to Ukraine. California. We're unable to track $24 billion spent to combat homelessness. The Pentagon. We're unable to track $2.3 trillion of military spending. The U.S. Treasury. We're unable to track $5 trillion of pandemic spending. The IRS. We know you sent $601.57 to your friend. You better report it or you're going to jail. I love that. And that's true, by the way. All those numbers I just recited are absolutely true. And let me give you the last line again. The IRS. We know you sent $601.57 to your friend. You better report it or you're going to jail. Of course, we just had tax filing season end on the 15th of April. I love this process. Like, we fuss and freak out and worry over our taxes. We do our best to file our taxes. All the time, the IRS knows exactly how much we owe them. And if we don't get it right and they know the right number, they penalize us. Kind of comical. I'm a YouTube person. Any YouTube people out there? Obviously, my channel's on YouTube. I'm a big fan of YouTube. I get more entertainment from YouTube now than I get from my television. Wait, hold on. From my streaming services, from cable, from network TV? Is that better? I actually watch YouTube on my big screen television. There's some amazingly creative people out there, as there are all over social media platforms. TikTok, as much as I oppose TikTok and think you should get off it right now, China's spying on us deliberately. There's no denying there's some very creative people out there. Anyway, YouTube. I found a guy recently. He's been on the site for a while. And he is just hilarious. The Real Sam Al-Khatib, I think it is. His last name is Alkhatib. The Real Sam. Funny, funny, funny. Very creative guy. Really well done. He does a lot of short videos, shorts. So 1 minute or so. Wonderful script writing, wonderful editing, really enjoyable. The Real Sam Al-Khatib. Check it out. And there's another great one as well. Cugine. Do you know Cugine? Meals by Cuge. These are both Staten Island guys, by the way. The Real Sam, Italian, Staten Island guy. Cugine, a Staten Island guy. Cugine got started doing food videos in his kitchen. And it's just taken off. And now he's got a lot of other things going on with videos, guest appearances on other YouTube channels, but really funny. Check out those two channels if you want some enjoyable, harmless, fun, usually centered around food. But really good stuff. Check it out. The Real Sam and Cugine. So you've heard me talk on this channel before about the moral hazard that is gambling, and how America has gone further down the amoral road by allowing legal gambling across the country, just as we did with legal marijuana. And we're on a slippery slope. We're on a real slippery slope. And there was an article out yesterday, a story out yesterday about Jontay Porter, basketball player, has been banned from the NBA for life over bombshell gambling scandal, reports the New York Post. The league found that Porter, who's 24 years old, was disclosing confidential information to sports bettors and limiting his own participation in one or more games for betting purposes. What a surprise. Is anyone surprised? Oh my goodness gracious, you can't say it's true. And by the way, if he's doing it, if he did it, it's going on across the league and in all leagues. No denying it. This is just one example of why we didn't have legal gambling for most of our history. Porter limited his own game participation to influence the outcome of one or more bets on his performance in at least one Raptors game. The big man played just 3 minutes in that March 20 game, claiming he felt ill. He finished the game with 0 points and 2 rebounds, missing his lone field goal attempt. He had an $80,000 bet on that game. But the NBA and the gambling platform he was using discovered the unusual suspicious activity and froze the bet. And he was found to have bet on NBA games through an associate's online betting account, ranging from $15 to $22,000. He bet a total of $54,000 across 13 bets, getting paid out $76,000 for a net profit of $21,000. Imagine that. He gave up millions of dollars in salary to be an NBA basketball player for $21,000 in sports betting. Now, I love this. Commissioner Adam Silver. There is nothing more important than protecting the integrity of NBA competition for our fans, our teams, and everyone associated with our sport, which is why Jontay Porter's blatant violations of our gaming rules are being met with the most severe punishment. While legal sports betting creates transparency that helps identify suspicious or abnormal activity, oh, please spare me this justification for legal sports betting, which the NBA is all in, by the way. All in, the NBA, on sports betting. This matter also raises important issues about the sufficiency of the regulatory framework currently in place, including the types of bets offered on our games and players. Working closely with all relevant stakeholders across the industry, we will continue to work diligently to safeguard our league and our game. What a load of BS. They're chasing after cash. That's all this is. Politicians are chasing after tax revenue, and leagues are chasing after cash, marketing revenue. It's pathetic. And of course, this reminds me of the baseball situation and Shohei Ohtani's problem. The Japanese superstar, given $700 million by the Los Angeles Dodgers over 10 years, insane contract, comes out of Japan. His ex-interpreter, Ippi Mizuhara, has been accused of stealing $4.5 million from the player's bank account. And he's in negotiations to plead guilty to federal crimes connected to alleged theft and his gambling, of course. However, Ohtani has publicly stated he's never bet on a baseball or any other sports. They claim Ohtani was completely in the dark about Mizuhara's manipulation of his bank account and that it was embezzlement and manipulating of his bank account information, and that Ohtani was not involved in any wrongdoing and has never had any association with gambling and bookmaking. Really? How many believe that? Again, the Dodgers protecting their financial investment, the league trying to keep its face clean, but the MLB, just like the NBA, is deep into supporting gambling on its own sport. I'm not a big believer that Ohtani didn't know this. And of course, they were going to find Ohtani innocent because they had to. But gambling is a real problem for many. It's an addiction for many. And it's going to disrupt sports. It's disrupting teenagers already. I see it personally. I see teenagers already addicted to gambling, legal gambling. So another day, another Lyin Biden. You know, he's been lying since he started running for Congress, the U.S. Senate in the 1970s. He's been caught dozens and dozens of times lying. He doesn't care. He's not embarrassed. He's gotten off the hook so many times from lying, he feels there's no consequences of lying. He's always been a liar, always been a plagiarist. Yesterday, in comments trying to disparage President Trump with respect to his military support, his military service, Biden brings up a story of his uncle, Second Lieutenant Ambrose J. Bosie Finnegan Jr., who Biden claims was shot down in World War II and eaten by cannibals. He told that story twice yesterday on the campaign trail, twice. He told it in front of media. He's told this before in the past, and it is a blatant lie. Lyin Biden goes on to say he was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid, speaking of his uncle. He continues, he flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones, and he got shot down in New Guinea. They never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals, for real, in that part of New Guinea. They never discovered his body, the president said, but the government went back when I went down there and they checked and found some parts of the plane. It's a complete lie. There was a survivor of the accident that took the plane down that Finnegan was flying in, and he has told the truth of the matter. On May 14th, 1944, an A-20 Havoc with a crew of 3 and 1 passenger departed Momot Airfield, Los Negros Island for a courier flight to Nadzab Airfield, New Guinea. For unknown reasons, this plane was forced and ditched in the ocean off the north coast of New Guinea. Both engines failed at low altitude and the aircraft's nose hit the water hard. 3 men failed to emerge from the sinking wreck and were lost in the crash. 1 crew member survived and was rescued by a passing barge. An aerial search the next day found no trace of the missing aircraft or the lost crew members. His uncle was not shot down. His uncle was not flying in a single-engine aircraft. His uncle was not eaten by cannibals. The media doesn't challenge him at all. They listened to it twice on the campaign trail. The plane was not shot down. It was not single-engine plane, not eaten by cannibals. And this is in the public domain. Not one reporter followed up with a question to push back on. Not one. And a quick Google search would have confirmed this. Really shocking. Sticking with President Biden. President Biden is on the campaign trail. And he's on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania. And he is desperate for re-election. The Democrats are desperate for re-election, really is what it is. They don't care who the person is. And again, I suggest Biden might be replaced at the National Convention coming up here in a few months. But he wants that important swing state, Pennsylvania, on his side. And so all of a sudden, after 40 plus years of supporting America's horrible unilateral free trade policy, allowing China to crush America's middle class, to crush our manufacturing sector, not just China, by the way, Mexico, South Korea, Japan, Malaysia, India. President Biden has decided at this unique time to call on his United States Trade Representative to consider tripling the existing 301 tariff rate on Chinese steel and aluminum. The current tariff is 7.5%. He says workers are facing unfair competition from Chinese imports. Really? Also decided that through the Department of Commerce, they're going to take action against countries and importers that do not play by the rules and flood the market with cheap products. Really? Anti-dumping measures? We have those on the books, by the way, from the 1960s and 70s. Again, where was he the past 45 years as we're getting crushed economically? 2024, our trade deficit is going to be $1.1 trillion. He's also directing his senior team to work with Mexico to jointly prevent China and other countries' evasion of tariffs on steel and aluminum that is imported from Mexico into the United States. So what does China do when we put tariffs on them? They go through third countries. So China ships the steel to Mexico and then exports the steel from Mexico to the US. It's still China's steel. A little more in transportation costs, but China's steel manufacturers get their steel into the United States. And the U.S. Trade Rep is going to initiate investigation into China's unfair trade practices in shipbuilding, maritime, and logistics sectors. Oh, what a surprise. Now that China has a larger Navy than us, now that our shipbuilding expertise has been crushed over the past 45 years, we're going to change something. President Biden says America is committed to strong steel companies powered by American steelworkers. Well, where has he been for the past 45, 50 years? My God. He was the guy that voted for the legislation that crushed those people to begin with. Well, of course, now he needs their votes. He needs their votes because they're a swing state and he wants to win in November. Just horrible, horrible public policy. Next, I want to quickly offer a hot take on, before we get into economy and the markets, is the U.S. Senate vote yesterday to end impeachment of President Biden's border chief, Mayorkas. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas was impeached by the U.S. House. The impeachment was sent to the Senate for trial, and the Democrat majority U.S. Senate on Wednesday dismissed impeachment charges, bringing a swift end to an effort that House of Representatives Republicans launched months ago. And so ends the effort to try and control America's borders. There's no denying that DHS Secretary Mayorkas is failing to enforce immigration laws. President Biden is failing to have his DHS secretary enforce inflation laws. The open border is deliberate. And now we can see that Democrats are completely behind President Biden's open border immigration policy. And it seems to be solely driven by votes. Remember, I talked about my podcast just the other day about how they're encouraging illegal immigrants to vote in America's election here in 2024, which is against the law. against the U.S. Constitution. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who's come to the middle quickly, he was on the right for a long time and then became House Speaker, and now he's a moderate Republican. He said that every single Senate Democrat has issued their full endorsement of the Biden administration's dangerous open border policies. That's fair to say, given their decision not to go to trial on the impeachment for failing to enforce America's immigration laws. And so the chaos on the border is going to continue for sure. And then lastly, as always, we check in on data and the financial markets, see what's going out there in the world. I spoke to you on Tuesday, Wednesday, yesterday, April 17th, as always, at 7 a.m. We get mortgage applications from the Mortgage Bankers Association. For the week ending the 13th of April, applications up 3.3%, driven largely by refis, strangely enough. The 30-year mortgage rate climbed up to 7.13%. Ouch. But not any historical craziness there. If you go look at, say, Fred and look at 30-year mortgage rates for the past 70 years, we're about on a trend line there. Also, yesterday, we had the Treasury international capital flows, the appetite on the part of foreign nationals to buy U.S. government debt and U.S. corporate debt. It's a net number. We track the overall net capital flow number, 51.6 billion net new money flowed into the U.S., probably chasing after the dips in the bond market. A little bit delayed. That's a February number, so not fresh data. Nothing from yesterday changes the outlook for the Fed in terms of their June meeting. Remember, they have a meeting coming up April 30th, May 1st, completely going to be on hold, no change. Speculation was they might ease rates in June, and that's not going to happen, as I've been telling you for some time now. Today, Thursday, as always, at 8:30 a.m., initial jobless claims for the week ending April 13th. How many of our fellow Americans lost their job last week and filed for initial unemployment insurance compensation? 212,000. I'm sure you're bored of me saying this. This number is bullshit. It used to be an important number. It used to be a market-moving number. Now it's bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit. It's been stuck in the low 200,000 level for the better part of 2 years, while hundreds of thousands of layoffs have been announced across the country. Also today, we had the Philadelphia Federal Reserve Business Conditions Index for the month of April, 34.3. Below 50 is contractionary, above 50 is expansionary. So in a contractionary mode still, nonetheless, will not change Fed outlook. We look at prices paid, 23 compared to 3.7 in the prior period. So a huge increase in prices paid. And so therefore not going to change the Fed outlook. Also, we had today March existing home sales down 4.3% to 4.19 million units on an annualized basis. Still elevated housing markets. This is a good direction to come in. I know that's horrible to say, but we need a correction in housing. Again, not going to impact Fed decision in June. So that's a quick check on data. We've had some comments. Fed Governor Michelle Bowman and Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester followed up on Fed Chair Powell's delayed rate cuts admission a day ago. Mester is a hawk, so very concerned about inflation. Said yesterday, the Fed needs to see more data to be sure of the inflation path. And Fed Governor Bowman, also a hawk, said that progress on inflation may have stalled and that time will tell if policy is sufficiently restrictive. Kind of implying that she might be in favor of more rate hikes. So the Fed's still focused on inflation, isn't seeing the changes they're hoping for in terms of disinflation, so inflation rising at a lower rate. The opposite is happening. And so we look at markets today. Remember now, equity markets are completely dominated by Federal Reserve rhetoric about rate cuts coming up. S&P 500 today, 5,008, down 13.8. Dow Jones Industrial Average, 37,743, down 10.3. The U.S. 10-year still moving in the right direction, 4.65%, up 6 basis points today. We want to test that 5% level for sure. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, NYMEX, $82.83, up 14 cents. Nat gas, $1.75, up 3 cents. Gold, another new record high, 2,397, up 9.4. That tells us inflation is still a concern. U.S. dollar index, 106.14. Little back and forth range trading here, 105.90, 106.20. Dollar yen, 154.58, up another 20. British pound sterling against the dollar, 124.40, unchanged on the day. Euro against the dollar, 106.50, down small. So dollar strength, euro weakness. Dollar strength remains a theme. Buy dips in the dollar, buy dips in commodities, sell rallies in bonds, and sell rallies in equities. That's my call. All right, that's all I have for you today. Always try to buy American.